Some folks like to get away for the holiday in the neighborhood. Hop a flight to Miami Beach, oh, by the riverside.
We all just listen together.
Na, 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 na.
You don't know the words either?
I'm in a New York state of mind. I'm going to be so honest with you. I did not have a song planned.
I was just singing one for like 5 minutes.
You were. I should have sang that one.
You always want to be different.
No, I should have sang that one.
That song, so I have to sing I played it. I have to be original.
I hit record and I was like, what can I sing? What can I sing? And then New York State of Mind came to mind, but I really don't know the words like that, so I probably got some wrong. So I'm so sorry. But you know what? I stayed true to you, and me.
You don't have to be sorry.
But I should have done Stay High. I forgot you were singing that when you got here.
I don't know why you're gone and I gotta stay high all the time to keep you off my mind. Ooh. Oh.
That was...
Are we singers?
Did we eat them up?
Did we just eat it up? Did we eat it up? I had to do the Ariana Grande emotional support finger grab.
Low-key, we are vocalists, and I always knew it. The thing about me is, I knew it.
I saw this video of a guy who was singing a solo and his voice cracked, and I was like, me?
Your voice, you actually have a really good voice. You have a very theater voice.
I think if I got vocal training, I think I could be.
I could there's a voice there.
I could do a little doot doot.
You got a very expressive, oh yeah. Ooh.
It was like the Hannah Montana intro, segment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Candy tagline. I'm all about family. Oh.
What?
The Candy from Atlanta Housewives tagline. She has one. It was going viral on TikTok. I forget exactly what she says, but she said something like, I'm all about family or something like that. And then it just cuts to her being like, oh. And then the rest of the tagline. It's the best
What is
thing.
the one? You go low, but I hit a high note.
Candace.
Did she have her baby yet?
She did a while ago, Maggie.
Is the baby 3 now?
Not 3, maybe 3 months.
Is she cute? Is it a boy or girl?
I think it's a boy.
A little boy.
I forget his name.
You your daddy's son.
I haven't seen too much.
Who does he look like?
The Potomac reunion trailer dropped.
I saw that.
It low-key looks good. I kind of fell off from the season, but watched from afar, supported from afar, you know? It was good. It started off good, and then it kind of just got a little boring, but it wasn't bad. But I was just like, I don't need to watch this. But now I've kind of been catching up, and I'm like, I need to watch. So I definitely will be tuning in for the reunion. And Giselle actually looks good at this reunion, meaning she usually wears the fuggliest dresses. And this dress,
it's hard, man. They are always trying to make a fashion statement, and it's either right on point, but that almost never happens. So it's either this is too exotic, we're not with you yet, you're above us, and we're just not with the times, and we think it's ugly, and maybe it will never be with the times.
With Potomac, it might not be with the times. Their reunion looks are notoriously not the best.
Yeah.
But they've gotten better the past couple years, I will say.
On TikTok, I saw a compilation of Nene eating people up at the reunion. Where is your scooter?
Where is it? You had all these diseases. And honestly, where was her scooter? Where was it?
I didn't know she had that many. That's crazy. I would never be Candy's friend or Nene's friend again if she said that about me. Word, you're never gonna see me again, bitch.
You'll never see me again.
You'll roll this day.
Did you see the Atlanta trailer for the new season?
No.
It made 0 sense.
What do you mean?
It was, and I'm glad I looked at the comments, and a lot of the comments thought the same thing.
Okay.
It was so confusing.
Yeah.
There was no cohesiveness. And it was they did this thing where Portia's welcome to the shade of it all, y'all.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Brandon.
We're so rude. I'm Magdala.
I just realized.
If you're joining us for the first time, we're glad you're here.
Thanks. But It had like a close up of Portia by like a peach tree, and she was like next to a peach, and it was like a slow-mo like this, and it was just like, you may be the sweetest peach, but not everyone can handle the juice. And then it just like went to clips, like a trailer, but it was like all the random clips that just didn't make sense. It was just like them together, then kind of fighting, and then they kind of say the fight to the end, but then it would show Kenya, but Kenya's not even a friend of, because she got fired.
Yeah.
Or like maybe she was put on hold and then she quit, or like I don't know what it was, but she did that thing to that new housewife Britt.
Yeah.
And then so it was just like, and then it was introducing all these new people, but then it was kind of Shamia's now a full-time housewife, but she's kind of giving try hard in it.
Shamia, Candy's friend?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
She's also was close with Portia.
Yeah.
Someone, she said something to someone. Shamia now has short hair, and she said something to someone, and the new housewife goes, "Okay, Flavor Flav." I was like,
wow.
Wait a minute.
Oh, you'd never see me again if you compare me to Flavor Flav. Oh my gosh.
And then at the end, it kind of shows this scene where Kenya did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And they kind of talk about it. But again, it's weird because Kenya's not in the cast photos.
Didn't they already hash that out or no?
They like, I don't know. It was just like Kenya left the show. And then like, so I don't know if she filmed anything after that to resolve it.
But there hasn't been a scene. There hasn't been a season where her mistake happened.
No, this is the season. They filmed for like, it feels like 8 years.
Yeah, because
like,
I was about to say, you told me about that a long time ago.
Yeah, so it's been like the longest time, and they finally released a trailer. And then the end, it shows Phaedra comes back, and then she also has like a close up next to the peach tree.
This is weird.
It was very confusing, but at the same time, I'm gonna
you want to watch it? Did it make you want to watch?
It made me, I'm intrigued to see how it is. It seems like they had new production. Their confessionals are like full body now.
Oh, Brandon, all you have to say is no.
But I'm gonna watch. But
I know you're gonna watch. I'm asking, did the trailer make you want to watch?
If I wouldn't have been a fan prior, no. I would have been confused. I've been like, what is this?
Like, what's going on?
It was just odd choices. I was like, what are we doing?
This is funny.
But I have a feeling, because trailers these days, I feel like aren't showing much because they want to keep a lot of the drama and not give away too much storyline.
But you gotta show me something.
Yeah,
that gives me the feeling that nothing happened worth showing.
Make it make sense at least.
Like typically on a housewife thing, they'll show some people who like, oh, you're wondering, are they still friends? And you see them bicker a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then maybe there's a fight. Maybe not a big fight, but like maybe someone threw something in, so you show it. Or they hit a knife on a table. Who knows? It's up in the air.
Get out of my house.
You know? And then like some people getting readed real quick and like are read. People getting read real quick. Mm-hmm. And they show a little bit of the quippingness. And then it's like, oh, I gotta tune in. Yeah. Not a bunch of nothingness.
No, it really was confusing, but and I'm not even saying we need to like go over it or anything. I mean, like if we watch and we like it, maybe we could, but just letting y'all know it's out there. And we do cover Bravo, so and if you're interested in watching the trailer, it's out there.
I will not tell a lie. I am not interested. I don't know, man. I'm kind of over. So, like, sometimes for me, like, shows get old. You know, The Masked Singer, it was cool the first 2 times. Now I don't have the energy to watch this thing all the way through to see who the Bumblebee is, you know? And then like Housewives really started to feel like that, like kind of old stuff, unless something's happening worth watching, like Scandival, like this New York thing, like Salt Lake City, and the lady whose son was going into rehab and stuff. I would actually tune in for that. But if there's nothing happening and we're just watching y'all be messy for money, pass.
Housewives can get kind of repetitive, so it has to have like something going on that's like worth watching,
right? And honestly, it's like low-key makes me sad for our culture. Like, why are these women just like fighting with each other? You know what I mean? Like, why
Portia's getting her divorce from Simon. Portia looks good.
She does look good. I mean, that's embarrassing for her, but I don't care enough to watch. I would have liked to see the process of her getting with him, and then the other woman, Fallon, coming in and saying her opinion. I'd like that more than just like, oh, we're not together now. Girl, we could have told you that.
Yeah, that would have been good.
His big ass teeth. Oh. Brandon.
Yeah.
Veneers? What do we think?
You know what?
Or denture? No, sorry, Simon.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is veneers. If I'm being honest,
so
I can't
clunky.
even think about what his teeth look like.
Really?
Yeah, I guess
That's
I just
the
haven't
only thing
looked
I
at
noticed.
Simon enough.
Literally, anytime he talks, I'm like, look at his teeth. They all look fake. He probably was the first person to do veneers because he kind of had them for a while. He had them when he was with Fallon, and nobody did it back then.
Did he?
It was like 2020. I want to say pre-COVID because
No, I think it was during COVID.
it was during COVID.
Because it was Bolo. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That was good.
That was good.
That was a good moment.
I want y'all to come out and say, who's the lady who disappeared?
Tanya.
Tanya, can you tell us what happened?
I know, right? Give us all the tea.
Oh my gosh.
She got out quick. They were like, they're going to know.
She's like, you're not taking my man from me.
It's like,
we've been together for years. I've been waiting for a ring.
I'd like if they brought Eva back.
Yeah. I would want Phaedra back, and I would want Shamari back.
Oh, yeah, you like Shamari.
Was so fun.
She was interesting.
Like, she was mostly comedic relief. Like, her storyline wasn't really like anything to super talk about. I mean, her kids are cute and whatever.
Yeah.
But like her just being there and how she behaved and stuff was very funny to me. I did like Eva was cool too.
Eva was awkward on the show though a little bit because it was like she was either pregnant or like she was then getting married and it was like her wedding stuff. I feel like she wasn't really herself. I don't know. I feel like now she's like divorced or something or getting a divorce.
Yeah, she got divorced and now she's acting. I think she's on a BET show.
I believe so. Yeah. So I mean, maybe she doesn't need it, but she was good on the Ultimate Girls Trip.
Yeah, I really liked Eva.
So I was like, oh, okay, maybe she should come back, but you know, maybe one
Girls
day.
Trip was interesting. I would want Phaedra to come back. Phaedra, do you live in it? Or I mean, yeah, Phaedra.
Yeah, she is back. Remember I told you.
Oh!
Who did you think I was talking about?
You did. Wait.
Phaedra comes back at the end of the season.
Oh, I thought you said, when you said Phaedra, I thought Portia, because it's her first season back too.
Portia is back, but she's like in the beginning, and then Phaedra comes at the end.
Not me saying I want Phaedra to come back and she's back. Maybe I will tune in.
And now y'all are seeing how Maggie doesn't listen to me. But I guess that means Maggie's going to tune in.
No, you know, okay, if you've been listening, you know I don't know anyone's name.
This is true. But
maybe we'll tune in. Stay tuned.
We'll see. Stay tuned if we tune in. Look, y'all. We're here for the Traitors. I do have a story.
Why are we here for them?
We're here to talk about the show.
Man, y'all make it. I mean, it's interesting, but really
it is
shitty.
Interesting. They compete for money in today's episode in the challenge.
Kind of.
And I'm struggling to keep my money. More on that after we talk about Traitors.
Stay tuned. Brandon has a story.
But with that, we're gonna cover episode 6 of season 3.
Episode 6 of season 3.
Season 3.
Let us come together, friends.
This was a frustrating episode.
Very.
Like beyond.
We've talked about how previously, for this show in particular, in the past 2 seasons they've had, the Traitors have been very good, very hard to find. Maybe first season, very good. Second season, good. This season, fools. Straight
but they're not
fools.
like they're not like it's so obvious yet they're not voting for them.
It's like they're doing such a bad job. No,
they're almost them. Like
invincible.
It can't be them.
Because like, why would a traitor do that? It's come up a couple times. He did such and such a thing, but why would a traitor do that?
Right. I'll say preemptively, Boston Rob. You got my respect this
He's
episode.
a G. Oh, no. We already knew Boston Rob is a good social game player. He is. He's very good.
I never watched Survivor, and I will say with the Bob the Drag Queen stuff, he took him down, but I was like, I feel like he just outed himself. Like, I don't know. This time, the way he was able to talk out of it,
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I can't even be mad. Are you next? Maybe. But with this group, who actually knows?
Y'all let him get to episode 7. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
But essentially, we're frustrated because last episode, the traitors were all over the place. Boss and Rob got Bob the drag queen out. And then in episode 5, Danielle is taken aback, as well as Carolyn. They're like, what are we going to do? So Danielle has a 2-second conversation with Carolyn where she comes to the conclusion that she needs to go after Carolyn. And Carolyn finds out. So we see, this episode starts out with a confrontation. So they enter the turret. And Carolyn is immediately about to speak, and she's like, I can't take this, Danielle. I heard what you said about me. And Danielle's defense is like, well, Jeremy said my name to you, and you didn't bring it up to me. And Carolyn really didn't even have a defense.
Well, she said, she was like, I did tell you. And she's like, but not soon enough. And it's like, I told you, like, when I saw you.
Yeah.
So it's like, girl, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And Carolyn's basically like, we're not working together. None of us are. And I don't trust them. And I want to murder you guys. Carolyn's over it. She's done. She was like, I've been playing nice. I've been trying to like just, listen to the team, do what the group wants to do. And I'm over it. And Rob is like, he wouldn't hurt them. Guys, I would never do that to you. And Carolyn's like, I don't believe you. He has no defense.
He doesn't, because his whole thing, he was like, I thought we said we weren't going to go after each other. And then no, that's later on. My bad. They fight a lot in the turret in this episode.
We've seen them the most in the turret in this episode. And Danielle's like, we're like a family. Danielle. They both look at her like, a dysfunctional family.
They're like, what are you talking about?
A family that needs therapy. And Danielle is just like, guys, come on, let's start over. Carolyn, I'm sorry. I really am sorry. I will make it up to you. I promise. I'm so sorry. I really do apologize. And they're like, okay, let's figure out who we need to murder. And so they start to plan, and they drop 3 names: Wes, Bob H, and Ivar. For Wes, they're like, he's dangerous. He talks a lot. Yeah. And he did say Rob's name. Yeah. And then for Bob H, I didn't really even understand. Well, Bob did call out Rob, but they had like another reason, I thought.
I think, from what I remember, I think it was mainly just Boston Rob said him because he's like on to him. Yes. And he like called him out at the Roundtable.
Yes. So. And then Ivar, they're like, nobody's going to banish Ivar, so we might as well get Ivar out, which kind of makes sense. He's basically a consistent faithful. Yeah. But all of these people really just benefit Rob. Yeah. And Rob is arguing for them and kind of going back and forth because he's like, Wes. And they're like, no, not Wes. And he's like, but Wes is blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, Bob. And they're like, ah. And Danielle's like, I really like Bob. Bro.
Yeah,
I really
she's like,
him.
I don't want to. And he's like, but I think we should. And then I think Danielle had said Ivar. And then he was like, oh, maybe. And then we're like, oh, are they fine? Is he finally going to listen to someone other than himself, Boston Rob?
We will see. So they write a name down. They let Carolyn do it. Carolyn is so frazzled. She puts like the wax like stamp on it, and then she gets ink all over the paper. She's like, my fingerprints. My fingerprints are on it. I'm like, Carolyn.
Yes. She's like, is this bad? It's bad. My fingerprints are on.
I think she like cries a little bit. Rob hugs her. I've never seen Rob hug anybody except for his wife Amber. He loves Amber. That's how he says her name. And they hug her. Carolyn hugs her, and she's like, I'm sad, I'm alone, like literally out. See, the thing about Carolyn is she's always vocalizing her feelings. It's just nobody's really listening.
They're not.
They're just like, whatever.
And like Danielle, I think, tries to hug her, but she's just like, you could tell Danielle's annoyed with her. Yeah. And I'm like, well, you did this, Danielle.
Yeah, no, this whole thing is a mess. Like, they're all over the place. I mean, Danielle saying sorry really doesn't cut it. I kind of wish Danielle here explained why she did what she did.
Yeah, instead of being like, oh, it's because you didn't tell me about Jeremy. Yeah. Even though she did tell you about Jeremy.
And I think that was just her defending herself. But it's like, Danielle, you really don't have a good reason for doing any of this. Yeah. Maybe they wouldn't listen, but you should at least advocate for yourself. Yeah. Now, Carolyn Carolyn going guns a-blazing and just being like, I want both of you out. That's not helping anything, Carolyn. Like, okay, make your moves, but maybe make them in silence. You could slowly plot against them if you wanted to, but just outright saying, like, I don't like you guys and I don't want to work with you guys.
Like, I just want to murder both of you.
Yeah, and they're like, so who will we murder? Anyways, who are we going to murder?
Right, because that can't happen. But it's the next day, the breakfast. And the first three in are Dolores, Carolyn, and Sierra. And Dolores is like, I hope Danielle walks through there. I'm going to have such survivor guilt if she doesn't.
I forgot about that whole thing.
Right. And I'm like, look, don't worry. Don't have any guilt. She'll walk in. But Sierra, it was a little confusing because it seems like she's kind of trying to introduce, like, maybe Danielle's a traitor. She's like, it'd be crazy because she's like always crying, but then someone knocks. And then it's Gabby, Brittany, and Derek. And Derek holds court about Boston Rob. He's like, oh, I'm starting to think maybe it's him, like, because he like voted for Bob the drag queen, or he was really harsh about that. And then Sierra's like, could it have been that Boston Rob took out Bob the drag queen as a way to like put his dick on the table and to like take another traitor out? And it's like, yes. Keep this in your mind.
That's actually what he did. And yeah, Derek was saying, like, if he comes in.
Yeah. Because his whole thing is like, if I'm a traitor, I'm getting rid of Boston Rob. I don't care how it looks. You're too good at this game. So he better not walk through that door. And if he is through that door, I'm looking at him. It's like, okay, Derek.
All right, Derek.
And then the next group is Chriselle in an ugly outfit. Sam. It was hideous.
Chriselle's always catching strays from you, Brandon.
And she should. Sam, Tom, and Boston Rob arrives. And Derek is just kind of laughing himself. He's like, oh, I thought they would have got you. And he's like, oh, I thought they would have too. And it's just like, oh, I was worried about you. It's just like, ooh, Derek is clocking that. And I'm like, good call. And then they're kind of talking about like who maybe is going to get murdered and everything. And because the final group is about to walk in, and Brittany's like, if Ivar goes, like, would anyone notice? It's just one less person to make tea. And I'm like,
that's
drag him.
Crazy, but you're right.
Not wrong. Danielle, and then this is the final group. So Danielle walks in with a hat.
First hat sighting.
And then behind her is Wes and Ivar, which means that Bob H was murdered. Everyone was really sad.
Yeah, they were. Danielle, I think, cries, but like for real this time.
Yeah. She's like, I feel so guilty. But we flash back to the turret, and this is where Danielle wants Wes. She's kind of like, I just feel like Wes. And then Boston Rob is like, no, I want to do Bob H because he's more of an imminent threat. And then Danielle's like, okay.
Yeah, they're just siding with him again.
Yeah. And so that's how they chose Bob H. And then Bob H, he finds it and he's like, oh, fuck. They're playing a ballsy game because they feel invincible. I hate the traitors. I feel like that's how I would be if I was murdered. I hate the traitors. Why gotta do this? Suck. Why would they do this to me?
So yeah, Alan comes in. He reveals. He throws the picture on the floor. It shatters, and then everybody starts to talk.
Bob H, from treadmill to dead still. And then he throws it.
They're really reaching for those.
They are.
That one was a reach, but it was still nice. Good job, Alan.
It was something.
Always heads up to you, Alan.
Yeah.
So everybody is like, poor Bob. Wes is like, I don't know who it is now. Everybody is like, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Dolores was like, well, Rob was packing his bag last night, and Tom is like, yeah, I thought about packing too, as he stuffs his face with like prosciutto.
He's like talking with a full mouth.
He's like, yeah. I also thought about my packing. And Gabby's like, Tom, we all know why you're here. And he's like, what do you mean? And Gabby's like, you're chaotic and no one believes you. So like, that's why you're here. You would never be a traitor, and you low-key help the traitors. Like, you're bad faithful. And he was like, but I have good evidence sometimes. Crickets.
He's so dead ass. He's like, I think I have good evidence sometimes. I think. It's like, No.
Logic is in the room with us. You're just not listening, Tom. She told you what it is.
I'm obsessed with Gabby this episode in particular, but the way she just laughs and just like, we know why you're here, Tom.
And nobody refutes it. So they all get up from the breakfast table and Tom goes to Brittany. He's like, Brittany, hear me out. Brittany, hear me out. Dolores. And she's like, no. And he's
don't
like,
stop. Don't say that.
You stop. And they just go back and forth for a second and Brittany laughs.
She does.
Like, this is funny for her. Tom is so serious. No, I really think Dolores. And Brittany is just like, okay, Tom, what do you have to say? They just listen to him.
That was the funniest shit. I like that they showed Brittany a lot more this episode.
No, they showed her a lot because she does a confessional and she's like, talking to Tom just gives me a headache. I wish I didn't have to talk. It's like, so early.
I already had a headache this morning and I'm talking to Tom. It's like, I feel you, girl.
So she's at a loss. And then Rob says it needs to be, and then like, so they all are talking and Rob tells Nikki, Dolores, and Ivar that it needs to be somebody who is convincing people. Oh, not Nikki. Rob is talking to Dolores and Ivar about how it has to be somebody who's convincing people, like for the Nikki vote. So he's mentioning Wes because Wes really went after Nikki and Nikki wasn't a traitor.
Yeah, he thinks it's like a diversion of some sort, which... I mean, I guess because we know it's not true, it feels a little loose.
It does. I mean, he did lead the charge on her, but not much. He like said it once and then everybody else came with their evidence.
Right. He probably said the least at the round table we saw where Nikki was actually banished.
Yeah.
So
we leave that room and we see Derek talking to Wes. And he's like, yeah, man, like she looks really guilty. Or not. I'm so sorry. Derek is talking to Tom. Tom is talking to Derek. And he's talking to Derek about Dolores.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, man, she looks really guilty. And Wes walks in. He's like, who's guilty? And he's like, Dolores. And it kind of pauses. And Derek's like, hey, man, can I talk to him? Can we have the room? And they basically asked Tom to leave. And I'm like, Tom. And Tom is like, oh, yeah, okay.
He's like, totally, man. Yeah, I'll talk to you later. I'll think of more theories.
The bros don't want to talk to you. The girls don't want to talk to you. Just, I don't know. Maybe listen.
That part. Just listen more. Like, not trying to be too mean, but like, come on. Just maybe don't give these theories that are all wrong. If,
like, okay, you can have an idea, but if nobody is biting it, maybe like leave it alone.
Yeah.
Like, and Gabby low-key told you what it was this morning. It's just funny. Like, I feel like his ego is so big. Gabby wrote it on the wall. People don't like your ideas and they don't think your theories are good. He continues to make theories that people react to and say, this is not a good idea, you know? But he doesn't put two and two together to realize, like, oh, maybe I should stop.
No, I think there is going to be a point, though, where someone listens to him, maybe. Because remember the trailer, one clip from him was just like him in like the confessional. And he's like, people are finally listening to me. So I'm like, maybe they listen to him once. Watch it be the one time he's right.
Or like they're listening to him and it's stupid. Or he thinks they're listening to him and they're not.
Yeah,
they're just they're like, hey guys, so from now on, let's just like let Tom talk. And like, you know, I just want him to feel okay.
Right.
So he votes for us.
Let's humor Tom a little bit.
So Derek and Wes have the room. And he's like, we need to act now on Rob. Like, it's really important. I think we can swing this vote towards him. And Wes is kind of on the fence. And Derek is like, I'm 100% sure. I know he's a traitor. And Wes is like, if he goes in that direction, if Derek starts, he will also try to pile it on and give an argument for Rob. And in his confessional, he's basically like, he's nervous because if they do go after Rob and they're wrong, it could be really bad. So Wes is trying to be cautious with this one.
Right. And I'm like, Wes, don't be like
cautious.
Yeah, I'm just like, he seemed very scared. And I'm like, at this rate, what are you gonna do? Wait to be murdered? Like, make the move. Like, I don't know. I
guess in his head he's like, if we swing, we can't miss. Which is kind of true because Rob tends to get out anybody who's talking about him. Bob, the drag queen, and Bob H. All the Bobs are gone. So the next 3-letter name is Wes.
All I'll say is I hope after this episode, Wes never played baseball before in his life because he was swinging and missing.
I'm dead. And then Brittany decides to have a chat with Carolyn. And she's like, hey, Carolyn, I just want you to know that, like, I heard your name.
That was fucking crazy when she did that. I was like, Carolyn, what
Carolyn
the fuck?
is drinking like orange juice or pineapple juice or something. And she starts to choke when she... She's like... She's choking and waving down Brittany. And she's like, no, it's not true.
Never say your name ever. You're
I did not
person I'd say.
I would never do that. When she finally like catches herself and she's like, no, Brittany, if somebody told you that, then they're trying to stir shit. And Brittany's like, okay. And she's like, who was it? And Brittany's like, I'm not gonna say it, but like I am kind of close to them. And Carolyn's like, Danielle.
Of course it's Danielle. I was like, of course it is. And it's just like, I'm done. Like, so it's Danielle.
She's pissed.
Crazy.
So the thing about this, now I'm thinking about it in hindsight, this is the morning.
Yeah.
Carolyn comes to the conclusion that Danielle just did this. And I kind of felt like, damn, but Danielle said that yesterday.
It was kind of like this, because this kind of becomes the theme with this episode. She thinks she did it that day. I think maybe, she was mistaken, but maybe what she's finding out is that Danielle told a lot more people. Yeah. Because all she thought the day before was that it was just Dylan.
Yeah, but Danielle.
And now she's finding out she told multiple.
She did.
People.
Yeah,
because Danielle hit the paint too hard. Maybe if she had only told Dylan, they could have potentially smoothed it over a little bit, at least for a minute.
But no, she told a lot of people, and it's getting back to Carolyn, which I think is actually like also a testament to Carolyn's game, that people are like, hey, your name's rolling around.
They're
like
being honest with her.
They are. I do think also Danielle kind of fucked up by not just confessing. You were in the turret with her. Tell her who you told.
Yeah.
She knows. Or pull her aside in the morning. I mean, you can't really. I would say in the turret. Okay, yes. Yesterday I did go around. I was saying your name. This is what I was saying. And because the reason why this is so bad is Danielle told her, I'm going to make this right. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make it up to you. Danielle does no fixing and no making up.
She does nothing else.
She doesn't even confess to things.
Yeah.
And this rumor is pretty bad because in Carolyn's mind, she never said Brittany's name.
Yeah.
So
it's messy.
So we go to the challenge.
We go on the challenge, and Alan had said before, he alluded to it being like an explosive challenge or something like that. And on the way to it, Dylan and Derek, I think all the guys are in the car, or most of them, they're like, you know what? If there's a chance to get a shield anonymously, don't tell anyone. And Wes kind of said a joke. He was just like, okay, so y'all can let me get a shield and I won't tell anyone. It's like, okay.
Whatever, Wes.
And then also Tom tries to be funny because I think Sam said something, or somebody said something like, oh, where are we going? Like Alan, he always has a trick up his sleeve. And Tom goes, that shaky little bastard. I'm like, shut up.
And he's got his beanie with his ears pulled back to infinity, as well as his hair. And I'm like, I really hate the beanie thing that you do.
Yeah, I don't know why. Beanies are his thing for some reason.
Tom.
But they get to this field, this open field, and there's like a huge, like blown up traitor there. And so when they get to the field and Alan explains the rules, it's basically there's hidden crates in the woods, and there's 20 of them, and you have to unlock them. There's 17 that have gunpowder, and then 3 that have a shield. And so you have to go and find them and unlock them. And to unlock them, there's going to be like a question on it, and you have to input a number to get it right. And if you get it right, it opens. If you don't, it blows up in your face. Very scary.
Yeah, I was like, blows up.
I'm like, damn.
That's a lot.
But basically, the goal is to get about 1,500 pounds of the gunpowder. Oh my gosh. Did I just erase all my notes?
Did you?
No, I didn't. Just started a new note. Thank God. The goal is to get about 1,500 pounds of the gunpowder to blow up the traitor, and then you can get cash to add to the money pot. I forget how much it was. I think 30,000. Yeah. But with the 3 shields, basically, like, there's only 3 shields up to give, and like you can get them, and you can like not tell anyone if you have it. Like this is a challenge where you kind of have an opportunity to hide the fact that you have a shield.
Yeah.
So basically they all kind of gather in groups from there and run to the woods. And in the beginning, they're all ditching the gunpowder and just going for the shield, which I get.
Yeah, no, everybody's like, we need safety.
Right.
That's a priority.
And especially Derek and Wes, because they have this whole plan to go after Boston Rob. They're like, we need shields so we don't get murdered.
Yeah.
And so Gabby says, because she's in a group with Ivar and they're kind of just running, and she's like, I'm trying to get a shield, but we have to worry about Ivar because he's about to have a heart attack. We need to leave this bloody royal behind. Just kidding.
I love Gabby.
I do too. The first group we see that gets to a crate with a shield is Ivar, Gabby, Carolyn, Danielle, and Tom. And then the question on it is, how many people were left on the pontoons in the first mission? The answer was 8, and they answered correctly. Carolyn yanks the shield.
She does.
Tom just goes, do you mind? Do you mind?
Yeah, we fucking mind, Tom. The
Yeah,
fuck?
bitch. It's not going to you. The fuck?
What do you think this is?
And then they're all kind of like, I thought we were going to talk about it. And Carolyn's like, did I not grab it first? And I'm like, period.
Stand on business. That's what I know. That's right.
Not a lie. Find your voice, Carolyn.
I mean, not very diplomatic, but hey, she picked it up first. And Danielle answered the question. Like, Tom is annoying because it's like you're in front of the box.
Right.
You're directly in front of it to the point where you have to open it. And you're mad because she took it. You were going to take it.
Exactly.
And Danielle answered the question. I feel like Danielle should have been able to open it.
Right.
And maybe before you open it, have a conversation. You wanted to take it first.
That part, that
Tom.
conversation, I'm surprised. And none of the groups seem to have done this, but why, like, before getting the shield, none of the groups decide who would get it?
Right.
Like, they, like, waited until they opened it.
I think they were all about to open it and then they started talking. But this group just opened it and then Carolyn took it.
Yeah. And, but Danielle kind of has Carolyn's back. She's like, you know what? It's fine. Because as long as no one knows who has the shield, they're all safe. Which is true.
Thank you. Danielle is starting to use that reasoning that she has.
I know. I'm like, about time.
Logic.
Brittany, Derek, Chriselle, Sam, and Dolores find one. And then Sierra, Wes, Dylan, and Boston Rob find one. And they decide to do rock, paper, scissors to see who gets it. And with this, Dylan randomly expresses how he's amazing at rock, paper, scissors and once won a tournament with 100 people. He's like, I'm oddly good at it. I'm like, you would be.
Okay.
But he does end up winning and he gets the shield in his group. And the other group does the same and Chriselle wins. And Derek is very annoyed. And she's like, but Derek, the thing is, it's fine because we can all be safe as long as we don't say who has it. And he's like, I know.
Derek is big mad. He's like, anyway, I'm trying to go after Wes. Not a lot of people are here for it. I need a fucking shield, but I guess we gotta play rock, paper, scissors.
But then, the rest of the challenge, they basically are just like getting the gunpowder.
Which is odd to me because at this point, the timeline they show us on the show is all 3 shields have been found at 15 minutes. And then they start collecting the gunpowder. And I'm like, oh, so they're not gonna get the money.
Well, the thing about this show, the time of the challenges and things like that, always a little suspect.
Because I was like, there's no way. Because they have I didn't realize until this part, because they weren't doing it at first. They all have like small miniature tote bags. Like a handbag, a large handbag size to put gunpowder in. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way.
I mean, some had buckets, I think.
The buckets were just it was like a pail. Like
it wasn't
it was the smallest
substantial.
bucket. And you had to run laps. So either it didn't take them 15 minutes or they had an hour. I don't know.
I feel like there was no way they all only did that in 20 minutes.
Yeah. So, no, 15, Brandon, because we're at 15 and the challenge is 30 minutes.
Oh, the challenge was 30 minutes?
The challenge is 30 minutes.
Oh, shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like, y'all did this in 15. Y'all all found shields.
They had an hour.
Yeah, there's
they
no
had
way.
An hour.
Because then you just see a montage of everybody, like, collecting gunpowder. And I'm like, oh, so you're not going to win.
They had time.
Even Alan is like, no one has collected any gunpowder.
He's like, they don't even have enough gunpowder to do a statue of Lala, let alone this traitor.
And I was like, Lala who? But that's the dog's name, I think.
I know. At first I was like,
Lala
do not shout out Lala from Vanderpump Rules, but it's the dog. I was like, okay. Lala. But while they're collecting gunpowder, Carolyn approaches Gabby, and it's like, several people have been coming up to me saying they heard my name was being said. And Gabby's like, she tells us, she's like, honestly, in this game, I'm a friend to everyone. So she's like, I'll tell you, someone was saying your name, but you can't say I told you. And she's like, okay, but you can't say I told you. And she's like, okay, it was Danielle. Yeah. And Carolyn's like,
she's so expressive. She's like, she's been spreading lies about me.
That's crazy. She's spreading all the lies.
Carolyn has had enough. She is doing a good job sleuthing.
She is. She's being very coy. Mm-hmm. She's going to the right people. Mm-hmm. She's not doing big groups. Mm-hmm. She's doing the right thing. And she's being as subtle as she can be. Mm-hmm. But this is where Carolyn firmly decides she can't play this game with Danielle. Mm-mm. We're done.
It's over.
We're done.
I mean, it's been over, but it's really over this time.
Yeah. And so eventually time's up and they allegedly get enough gunpowder to blow up the traitor.
Did you see any fire on the statue?
I saw it blew up.
It looks so fake to me. I think it was all fake, whatever. And they just knocked the statue forward. They're like, somebody get behind there and push it. Yeah, just do it.
Push it real quick. Go behind it. Give it a little shove.
Alan's good at throwing things. Light. Get him to push it. They just pushed it over. And I was like, not the fake explosions. Y'all are about to have a really good season on your hands. I need you to do better with the effects.
It did look a little suspect.
How was there a big explosion but no fire on the actual statue? I wasn't born yesterday. Anyway.
I was born at night, but not last night.
Right. And they show them filling up the bucket, and we only ever see the inside like half full. But by the time they all run to the other side for the explosion, they never
show it completely full.
Well, they did.
Did they?
They did, and it was like full. Overfull, like it was full to the top, and I was like, "There's no way!"
Yeah, because there was like lines they were showing, and they just had to get to the top line, right?
The production's basically like, "Hey, we have to give them the money because what are they going to fight for if we don't give them the money?"
That part, which
anyway,
it's a mess. And then after they win, Alan's like, "The 3 shields were taken. Does anyone want to say who?" And then no one does.
Crickets.
And so they're just like, and he's like, "I thought so." Yep. But then they leave.
Yeah, so they all start heading back. Carolyn is actually in the same car as Danielle, and she in her confessional, she's basically like, I want Danielle out, and I'm gonna do everything I can to get her out. And so all the girls are in the car. It's Danielle and Carolyn, and I didn't register who else. I think Chriselle was in there.
I think Sierra was in the front. Chriselle, maybe Gabby.
There's like 5 of them in there. Yeah. And Carolyn's like, so it's gonna be all girls together, right? And she like rolls her eyes, and they're like, yeah.
All girls. All girls.
I'm like, is no one seeing any of her facial expression? It'll be all the girls together, right?
And Danielle's the first one to be like, yeah, totally.
And they're all like looking in different directions. And then like Carolyn is in the middle seat. Danielle's in the window. And Carolyn kind of like looks at her. And Danielle looks over and she like she didn't back up, but it was like this, and then like
she just like kind of looked. They missed each other barely. It was. I love Carolyn. She is funny.
I love her too. Look, she's good TV.
She is.
She's great TV. Don't cross her. She's great TV. So back in the castle, Wes goes up to Dolores and is like, hey, Tom is saying your name. She's like, of course he is. Who gives a fuck? I don't care about fucking Tom. Fuck him. He's a cheater. No, I'm just kidding. But she was basically
Tom
like, whatever.
Didn't get a lot of attention in his younger years, and it's showing now. Like,
and while she's saying that, Tom is eating like an animal. He's got like a fork, like he's not scooping. He's like stabbing food and shoving it in his mouth. And I'm like, what are you doing?
He's eating like ravenous. Like
Literally.
he has never had a meal before in his life.
He's standing over his food. He has a plate of food and he's standing over it and stabbing it. And I'm just like,
I don't remember him being like this on Vanderpump Rules.
Never.
Like he never ate like that. At least
He eats a lot.
I'm like, what are we doing?
Remember last episode, Bob H was like, too much.
He's like, no.
Biggest Loser. You don't want to be on that show.
Don't make me fat shame you like I used to do people in the past.
And Tom was like, no, I want the bread.
Did you peep though when he was eating? Gabby just walks in and it's like, ugh.
I did.
I love her.
They're over, and he just looks at her. And he's like, I'm like, bro. I hate when people eat gross. Tom Sandoval, I never expected it from you. I never did. You at least try to get dressed. You
try to look presentable.
Yeah. So you're in your 3-piece suit eating like an animal? I mean, you may be hungry, but damn, just sit down.
That was ridiculous.
And it just made it funnier. What Dolores was saying is he hasn't had enough attention as a kid. And he's like...
and you can tell too, like, just like, he's always the loudest.
Mm-hmm.
And even like later on, like at the round table when they kind of cut him off, he just goes, he breathes like so heavily, like he wants to be heard.
He's like, guys, I think I could be really good at this traitor thing though.
Sure, Jan.
So Dolores tells Wes, like, tell Tom to bring it to the round table. So she's ready to go toe to toe with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Derek approaches Ivar. This conversation was also bizarre to me.
It was.
So Derek is like, I want to try to talk to Ivar about getting Rob out. So he's like, hey man, yeah, I just wanted to like pull you to ask you about, you know, like something that you've already brought up. And Ivar's like, okay, something I've already brought up. And Derek's like, yeah, you know, like you were already talking about it, and I just want you to know that I side with you. And Ivar's like, are we talking about Rob? And I'm like, why didn't you just tell him, hey,
this was so bizarre. Derek's trying to do like this, like coy, like very like, oh, I'm telling you, like a wink and a nod, like a detective, like weird shit. I'm like, just say it.
Just be upfront. Ivar already said it. Like, why are you making him guess?
Right. And he was low-key rude because Ivar was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, think about it. You'll know. And it's like, clearly he doesn't. These are long days. Derek, and he talked to you like at the beginning of the day before.
Yeah.
And it's like the end of the next day.
Well, I think it was because he brought it up. I thought he was referring to Roundtable.
Oh, maybe.
Because he was like, you brought it up last night. And Ivar's like, last night. Last night. Like,
last Friday
we just
night,
running around.
Yeah,
I was really out of breath.
I don't really remember what you're talking about. Last Friday night.
I don't remember. Rob. It's Rob you're talking about.
Rob, okay.
And then Derek just like leaves almost as soon as he came in. I'm like, that wasn't smooth.
No, it wasn't at all. I was like, Derek, drop the act. Just be direct. I can't.
Mm-hmm. And then Rob is with Gabby and Tom, and he tries to talk to them about Wes. And then Carolyn's getting food. So is Dolores, and so is Dylan. And Karen is like, wait, you be Dolores, okay? No. I can't laugh.
I'm cutting my steak. I'm from Jersey. I'm Dolores.
Did you hear that Danielle was talking about me?
No.
She like leans into Dolores's eye view and is like, did you hear it? And I'm like, is her neck long? Or she just tall?
I think she's tall. She's a little like, you know.
Not a little. But
tall.
she was just like, did you hear?
Because I think she was trying to be a little secretive.
Why? Dylan told you.
I know. I don't know.
Who are you hiding from? Anyway, that was weird to me. But Dolores was like, do tell. What's the
she's
tea?
like, no, did she really?
She didn't think anything was weird about it. And she's like, yeah, Danielle is just throwing my name around. But I just thought the whole like leaning.
That was like, that was funny. I can't.
Did you? Low-key a jump scare moment.
It kind of was.
Did you hear? Anyway.
Did you know? Oh.
And then we see Wes, Sam, Ivar, and Brittany. And Wes brings up that Sam said something the day before. So at the round table the night before, Sam was like, Rob, I'm kind of suspecting you. If you don't die tonight, I'm going to be suspicious of you tomorrow. So Wes brings it back up and he's like, Sam, you said that. And Sam's like, I did. I did once.
Sam always has that headband in his hair.
He does.
I'm like, take it out. What are we doing?
Yeah. But Sam is like, I did say that once. Anyway, and I'm like, God, you guys aren't giving them anything. Ivar doesn't know what Derek is talking about. Wes is trying to bring up something Sam said, and Sam's like, I did say it, but he doesn't seem to really care. And Wes is like, he's like, well, I have heard more about Rob, and they don't really seem to bite much.
They don't.
This is rough.
Yeah, and then because Wes also was like, oh, Derek's gonna like lead the charge at the round table. And Brittany, this kind of flips Brittany's antenna.
Yeah, Brittany's like,
She's skeptical of Wes because she thinks he's always trying to like get people on his side and stuff. And like she's kind of, her and Derek have that big brother connection.
Yeah. So this is kind of annoying coming from Brittany, because that's kind of what you have to do. If y'all want a purposeful round table, it's good to have a consensus. And I feel like more so in the challenge than in, well, I feel like in Big Brother, you want to like all be unanimous in your vote so you can take a clear shot at somebody, get them out. But if everybody is just voting for random people, then you're wasting kind of an evening, a chance to get somebody out. So you kind of do need people to rally. Maybe you're doing it too much. But like, I'm like, Brittany, you should know that this is how it goes, because that's kind of how they do it in Big Brother too.
Yeah.
Maybe not when she played.
Maybe. I don't know. It was a little, because like I didn't get that argument either, really, because I was just kind of like, I mean, I guess it's something to question, but to think someone's a traitor because of it, that's where I'm like, okay, I don't know if that's a good enough reason to think someone's a traitor.
If the reason is we swung at Nikki and missed and you had the idea, that's a good one. I feel like that's better than that logic that you just had, that he's a ringleader. But, you know, he plays these games for a living.
Right.
Anyway, they're not really like picking up what he's putting down. Brittany then goes and talks to Derek, and she sees Derek and she's like, hey, Wes said that you're leading the charge to get Rob out. Is that true? And Derek's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm like, just, no, I'm not. And Derek in his confessional is surprised that Brittany is kind of defensive of Rob. So that's why he lies.
And I'm like, was she being defensive of Rob, or was she just asking if this is true and then you lied?
Yeah, I didn't really see why he lied so quick too, because you're gonna do it anyway. She's about to find out. Round table's coming up in an hour or so. Right.
Like, I guess maybe if he thought she was gonna warn Boston Rob, but now you kind of planted a seed even more that Wes is lying.
I think thinking that she would warn him is a good reason, but it was just a weird moment. But he's like Brittany is like really protective of Rob, and if I think Rob is a traitor, then maybe Brittany is a traitor. Like, she's been really quiet, but now she's all of a sudden talking and defending Rob.
I'm like, is she okay? Maybe there's something we're not seeing, but
yeah, I didn't see that much either.
Yeah.
And then we see Derek and Danielle. So Derek goes up to Danielle and he's like, I want your vote to get Rob out. And she's like, all right, if the votes are there, I'll vote. And then Chrishell warns Rob in front of Danielle, like, hey, people are saying your name. Maybe get ready and like have a defense in case to try to put the votes on Wes.
Yeah.
And so the flag has kind of been raised, and Chrishell's like, I need water. And she leaves. And it's just Rob and Danielle. And Rob's like, so what, are people talking about me? And she's like, no, they're mostly talking about Wes. She lies.
Well, she's quiet for a minute. I was like, are you going to speak?
Are you going to say anything?
She's like, no, they're saying Wes.
I've mostly heard Wes's name.
It's like, all right.
W-E-S, right? I'll be remembering
Not R-O-B.
So then they leave and they head to Roundtable. But those were all the discussions beforehand.
Yes. And so it's kind of setting up this maybe Wes and Rob battle that's going to happen. But we get to Roundtable. And Alan's like, okay, it's time. Start discussing. And then Dolores decides to start.
This is a mess.
And this was. And she's like, so I've heard you've been sharing my name, Tom. And he's like, oh, yeah. So, like, the thing is, and she's like, don't be nervous, because I know what you're about to say isn't going to make any sense. So trust me, I'm okay. I'm fine.
She's like, don't spare my feelings. Speak from your heart.
And I'm like, drag him. And he's like, the thing is, I just like, I don't see you going around asking questions and like just trying to figure things out. And she's like, well, maybe I don't go to you and ask questions. And Sierra smirks. She's like, and he's like trying to continue. And Derek's like, look, we got other things to say. Like, are we done?
And Tom's like, but I just have one more thing. And Derek's like, okay, but like, let's make it quick. Essentially, like, I'm gonna stop you right there. We have things to talk about. We only have so much time in here. So maybe let's spend it on something purposeful.
Right. And Dolores is like, you know what? Bob H said something that seems to be ringing true. A bad what? A blank faithful is worse than a traitor. What is that? He's like, a bad faithful. He's like, yeah, and I think you're a bad faithful. I'm like, drag him.
And Derek's like, okay, guys, can we move on? And Tom's just like,
and then Derek takes the mic. And he decides to recap Bob the drag queen's banishment. And he's like, look, Bob, on his way out, even though the votes were leaning towards maybe Nikki or someone else going out, he decided to vote for Boston Rob. And the fact that Rob wasn't murdered, but Bob H was, who had recently called out Rob the night before, all these things put together, and Boston Rob being so sure it was Bob the drag queen, that to me, with those facts, shows that you, Boston Rob, are a traitor.
Indisputable facts.
Indisputable. You can't dispute them whatsoever.
And Rob's like, well,
no.
You're wrong.
He's like, you're widely misguided. He says Bob admitted that everything he said was a lie.
Did he say that?
I don't think he said that.
I don't think he said that.
he said something. He said he believed in God, and that was a lie.
Yeah.
But I don't think he said everything he said
was a lie.
Was a lie.
Yeah.
But if they don't remember, then you can sell whatever. And he was like, look, I was scared I was going to be murdered, and I thought it was going to be me or Ivar, because everyone thinks Ivar is a proven faithful. And then it hits me, excuse me, that whoever is a traitor is really smart, and they're keeping both me and Ivar together to create confusion, because they're like, we don't need to kill Boston Rob. Everyone thinks he's a traitor. The faithfuls are going to take care of him for us. And so you know what? There's one person who I think is smart enough to do this. And I have to say, this spin, I was like...
Cold. Oh, he ate.
I was like, okay, Boston Rob. I was like... And they let him go, and they sounded like they were believing him. I was like, look, if he gets away with this... I gotta respect Boston
Hats off
Rob.
to you.
I was like, because low-key, I'm like, the odds were against him, and if this works, ooh. But then he says, the person who I think is smart enough to do this and make that move is Wes. And all these names that we're kind of saying are potentially traitors have come from Wes. And Wes is like, so I want to bring us all back to that last challenge, where at the end of it, Bob the drag queen brought up that one of the three new guys has to be a traitor. And it was instantly Rob who decided to then go after Bob the drag queen.
3 minutes later, he says.
Which is a great point, but Rob quickly denies it. But that was a very big tell, in my opinion. And then Gabby, but that's all he says too. And I'm like, that's all you have to say, Wes?
Yeah. Rob kind of cuts him off, and he's like, he's flipping it. See, he's flipping it.
He's flipping it. And it's like, that's the game. We're pancakes, babe. What am I saying? But Gabby jumps in, and she's like, well, Wes, the thing about you is you're always looking for numbers and to make sure you're safe. And it's just like suspicious. And Michelle's like, yeah. And like, the thing is, I don't know about you, and like if this is how you are, this is the game. But when you talk, it does come across very aggressive, and I'm like, okay, Chriselle. She said this previously too. She was like, I don't like the way Wes talks, but that's not a reason for him to be a traitor. And it's like, correct, Chriselle.
You listen to your former self. No, this is again where I'm like, rallying votes is part of the game, guys.
That part.
You have to rally Gabby. I was like, Gabby, you don't know this. It's okay. Gabby, it's okay. But in games like this, you want to rally votes. You want to rally votes. You need people together to come to a consensus. And if he's thinking something, of course he's gonna. Because the point of the game is to get people out.
You gotta talk. You gotta see where everyone's head's at.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. So again, I get maybe questioning that, but that's not something that's like, oh, you're a traitor.
Yes. And then like for Wes to be like, they saying he's aggressive. I'm sure he is. And that's also on Wes to like know his audience. Like you're working with people who don't play games. So maybe tone it down a little bit. Maybe ask them their opinion, you know?
It's kind of crazy though, because, and not to say he's not, because if they say he is, then I'm sure there's just stuff we're not seeing. Because everything we've seen, I don't think he's come across aggressive.
I haven't seen him be aggressive, but most of the time when I see him talking, he's throwing out a theory.
Yeah.
And I don't often see him listening to theories. Like how Derek and Wes were basically like, yeah, Tom we have the room. Like you need Tom, actually leave him in the room, let him think he's part of whatever you're talking about, so that you have some support. It was giving like the adults, the game players are talking like, can you leave? And it's like, you need them though.
Like last season when Pilot Pete had MJ leave that room, and then it was between Pilot Pete and Phaedra of who was going to go home, and MJ picked Pilot Pete to go home because regardless, even though Phaedra was the traitor, you didn't make MJ feel comfortable or like she could trust you.
Right. And I'm thinking about the day, like you guys kicked out Tom. I mean, I get it. I'd kick out Tom too. But then you also kind of isolated Brittany by not bringing her into the plan. Like you guys, you're not doing it. This is not Big Brother where you just need a couple people and everybody will follow suit. You need to talk to everybody, especially these people who don't play games and are already suspicious because there's people murdering them.
Yeah. You just got to know your audience.
Got to know your audience.
Wes. And Wes is like, you know what? I am aggressive. And that's why I'm the most winningest person at this table. And like, you know what a bad traitor would do? Is be aggressive. And he's like, look, I can tone the aggression back. And for the one or two people that do vote for me, I got my eye on you. And they're literally like, wait a minute, are you threatening us? Like, what the fuck?
Sierra chimes in, Gabby chimes in, Chriselle chimes in. They're like, what are you talking about? What does he mean by that? What do you mean you're going to come after us? Wes, why the fuck would you say that?
That part, I'm like, Wes.
What are you saying? What does that mean?
Why would you say, do not say to the people who think you're, like, what are you thinking?
And that's the other problem about Wes is I think he's used to just being a dominant factor in these games, and these people don't care how many times you won the challenge.
No, and you didn't even he says the most winningest person. I mean, I think he's won the challenge a couple times, but like a lot of people have.
I think he's won the challenge the most though.
I don't know.
He's played
have to
a lot.
Look at those stats. I think it was Johnny Bananas.
No, Johnny lost them. Johnny like just broke his losing streak. He had one for a while.
Yeah, but he had won a million times before.
I don't know. But that's what he said.
We're going to look up those stats.
I don't think he would say it if it wasn't true.
I mean,
did he win
most
House of
winningest
Villains?
person at the table, that's easy to say when you've done 87 challenges.
That's not his fault.
And like
they bring him back to play. If he won the most, he won the most.
You're talking to people who aren't on challenge shows where they're winning.
Right. It doesn't matter to them. I think the most anyone in this room has probably won is twice.
Yeah.
Like I think that maybe Boss and Rob won Survivor twice, if at all. Maybe he won once.
Derek won Big Brother once.
I think he's trying to like claim authority by saying this, and it's like they actually don't care.
That ain't gonna work with them.
And why did you threaten them? That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm gonna have my eye on you.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean?
Why don't you do what Boss and Rob did and say, okay, if I'm wrong, then vote me out next week.
You're trying to use intimidation, and like these people don't care about that. Some of these people are from Bravo.
Yeah.
They're like, they argue with people on TV for sport. They're not about to deal with your aggression.
Yeah.
This was like, I wrote, honestly, a pitiful argument.
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad, Wes.
I was like, this is all you have to say, Wes?
All of it?
And then Carolyn's like, hold on. Wait a minute. Wes is obviously being used as a scapegoat. Look, I don't fit in the real world. I don't fit in this game. But I felt lucky finding an ally in Danielle. But recently, Danielle has turned on me and is saying my name and creating all these lies and chaos. And it's just like, what the hell, Danielle? Like, what are we doing? And like Brittany, or she didn't even say Brittany's name. She's like, someone came up to me in the kitchen and was saying this morning that you were still saying my name. And Brittany's like, I told her, but I didn't tell her it was you,
that was
Danielle.
Me. Sorry. Yeah, Danielle. I'm so sorry. That was me. I didn't say your name though. Just
Yes.
she like kind of backs out, and I'm like, oh, Brittany.
Right. And Danielle's like, it's not true, Brittany. Like, no. Or it's not true, Carolyn. No. Da-da. And they're kind of having a back and forth. She's like, you're making this personal. And she's like, you're creating chaos and you're lying, Danielle. And she's like, I'm not creating chaos. And it's like, you are creating chaos.
You are creating chaos.
Carolyn's acted a little. Now Carolyn's bawling at the table.
Carolyn is crying.
And I felt a little bad. I was like, oh, Carolyn.
I did. And they just go back and forth. And I'm like, Carolyn, I get it. You want to get Danielle out. This is not how to do it. Just because she's saying your name doesn't mean she's a traitor. Yes, the creating chaos narrative is valid. But as you know, people think you're crazy. So I don't think that this is the way to get people on your side who think you're crazy. Now they're probably never going to think of Danielle again.
I mean, look, we'll see what the discussion is with them the next day. She could have just rallied the troops undercover to get Danielle next time.
Right. Like, oh, maybe start making up stuff like, oh, Danielle actually said your name. Like, plant it a little bit longer, but Carolyn just wanted some revenge and she just decided to get it now.
Yeah.
She mentions that Jeremy warned her.
Oh, yeah. She's like, Jeremy warned me and then he ended up dead. I should have listened to him.
Oh, Carolyn.
And then this is just before the vote. It's final words. And Derek tries to tell everyone, emotion versus objectivity. We're going to look dumb if we vote out Wes because of his personality as opposed to Boston Rob because of facts. Like, Chris out.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, hey, kind of annoying how he said it, but he's not wrong.
He isn't.
Why are we going to vote out Wes because we don't like how he speaks? Like,
right.
Yeah, that's annoying, but like, it doesn't mean, again, he's a traitor. There's
really more evidence against Rob. I think that people just want to believe that Rob isn't a traitor because he gave them a traitor. And so like, and I actually think Rob has been working with people a little bit better than we've seen Wes and Derek.
Yeah.
So he has their favor somehow. And they're not really like believing this Wes stuff, but it seems like some people are on the fence.
Yeah.
I have the votes.
Give us the votes, Maggie, please.
So they vote. Dylan votes for Wes. He's like, Rob helped us get a traitor. You haven't. Carolyn votes for Danielle. She's like, faithfuls don't make up lies. She's like, maybe next time I won't cry as much, or maybe I'll cry more. Girl, what? Anyway, waste of a vote. Wes votes for Rob. Sam votes for Wes. Ivar votes for Wes. And Rob votes for Wes, saying he's the chaos causer. Dolores votes for Tom because she doesn't trust him. Danielle votes for Rob. She went with the facts. Gabby votes for Rob because it was a stronger argument.
She's like, this may be confusing, but I vote for Rob. I'm like, period.
This argument made more sense to me. Derek votes for Rob, and then Tom votes for Rob. Finally, Tom using his vote for good, Tom. Not evil. Right. So far we have 5 votes for Rob, 4 votes for Wes, 1 for Danielle, 1 for Tom. Chriselle votes for Wes, so now there's 5 votes on him. They're tied. Brittany votes for Wes, so now it's 6-5, with Wes having more. And Sierra is the tiebreaker, and she decides to vote for Wes because he's the biggest threat. So 6-5, they almost got Rob, but they Wes did. It's time for Wes to go home.
He's banished. It was funny because when Chriselle cast her vote for Wes. Wes was like, I'm coming for all 5 of you. And then Brittany goes, make it 6, Wes. I'm like, period, Brittany.
What do you mean you're coming for them? Anyway.
I know, like, what are you going to do?
Wes gets up and he's like, I'm one of the greatest reality competition players of all time. Quantitatively, I'm better than everyone here. You win by being aggressive and playing hard. I wanted nothing more than to come here and be a traitor because I don't care about any of y'all. You are all chess pieces on a board. And so to all those people that have died until I got to the circle right here, I have no idea who killed you because I'm a faithful. Fuck all of you guys. And he flicks them off and leaves. And I'm like, I know that was a good exit.
It was fine.
The speech was a little much. It was giving like, I have your blood on my hands. Who did that? Jag. I have your blood on my hands. I'm the reason you went home. And they're like, oh, there was other reasons. It calm down a little bit. Yeah. But he really made it home. Like, I'm good at these games. I don't care if I'm aggressive. I actually don't care about any of y'all. And I'm not a traitor. So yeah, he makes his grand exit.
After though, Brittany, when he did his thing, Brittany immediately like claps. Like she kind of was just like, that was kind of funny. I was like, period, Brittany, she knows. And then fucking Derek's kind of annoying. He's like, I think sometimes we forget that when we're voting, other traitors are voting too.
Again, can you just say what you mean? I don't even get what he means by that. Like traitors are swaying your vote. Remember that?
Yeah, Derek, we know. We're at a round table with everyone in the game.
Yeah.
Everyone's voting.
Maybe say like, guys, come on. Like, I really think it's Rob. Please hear me out. I might die tonight. Say something, but he's not really. You gotta like talk to people. Anyway.
Yeah. Be direct.
He's like, it's not looking good for Rob. So Derek is feeling like he planted some seeds for Rob. He may not do so well next week. So they're going to have to figure it out on their own. Danielle says also they almost got Rob and Carolyn is voting for her. So that's great. But Danielle did take the stance on voting for Rob, which doesn't really look great on her part.
No.
Because he didn't go home. Rob goes around and he goes on a thanking tour. Thanks for voting for me.
Thanks for believing in me.
Thanks for having my back. Hey, yeah, thanks for having my back. Thank you. And he's like, guys, I swear, I'm a faithful.
It's like, all right, vote him out next, please, y'all.
And he's like, I survived with zero help from the traitors. It sucks. Danielle is like on her own thing. Carolyn is done. This is a disaster. And that's when I agree with him. I'm like, this really is the most treacherous task you have.
It is.
Then Brittany decides to pull Derek. She's like, hey, can I yell at you real quick? That's a weird way to ask someone to talk.
Right.
And she's like, you're a scumbag. You're a scumbag liar. And he's like, why am I a scumbag liar?
She's like, you told me you weren't going to lead the charge.
And he's like, yeah, because like you're over here protecting Rob all the time. You protect him so much. I think you're a traitor. And she's like, oh, gasp.
She's like, for real?
She's like, you can't be serious. I am not a traitor. I thought that Wes was a traitor. And he's like, but the logic isn't there for Wes. The argument's not there for Wes, but it is for Rob. You're not thinking clearly. And he's just kind of like telling her, like, she's like, but Wes was being shady and stuff. And Derek's like, I mean, he buried himself, but like there were reasons to vote for him. And so he's kind of annoyed with Brittany that like she's not with him, basically.
And she's just like, you lied to me, yet you're mad at me? What kind of fucking man logic is this? And
that's
like,
valid.
Not wrong. Like, I get where he's coming from about being annoyed that they didn't go with Rob when Wes wasn't a traitor. But also, like, you don't know for sure. Like, at that point, you didn't know for sure if Wes was a traitor or not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like chill. And also, now you're trying to, like, deflect to Brittany, who is a faithful. Like, so like, and also his thing, he was suspicious because before Dylan voted, Brittany was like, don't vote for Rob, or whatever, and but I'm like, but that could be said for you too, Derek, because you were trying to tell people before to vote for Rob. So like,
he's like, it's not Wes, it's Rob. R-O-B. And Brittany's like,
Rob.
Brittany's just like, Dylan, remember Dylan. So they kind of get into it for a second, and Derek's like, if he will get murdered, he says he's probably going to get murdered, and Rob will just frame somebody else, which is
at this rate
solid.
They're believing it now, so like hopefully they won't next time.
Yeah, I think so. I saw some interviews with the cast, and Brittany was saying that she really suspected everybody, like everybody at one moment. Like at one point she saw 6 cameras around Jeremy while he was eating cereal.
Yeah.
And she's like, he's a traitor. But she was like, some people are also confused because of the whole Rob turning on Bob thing, because technically you're not supposed to do that as a traitor, so it's kind of confusing. He can't be a traitor if he did that, right? That's against the rules, right? Yeah. So I also think that might be swaying people away from Rob.
Yeah, it's kind of like I wonder what the rules are, because it's probably kind of loose about if a traitor can accuse another traitor.
Yeah,
as long as they like.
I think the traitor rules are just like hey, we should make an oath for them to say. Oh my gosh, yeah, that would be so cool. Yes. Oh yeah, you guys say this oath. Like I actually don't think it means
yes, I am. I don't know. I wonder what that rule is.
And what are you gonna do? Tell them, hey, don't listen to that part, guys. They just said something they shouldn't have said. You can't take it back after it happens.
Yeah.
So anyway, they all go to bed and they head to the turret.
Yes, and they're all nervous walking up to the turret because they're just like, everything's blown up. Like Danielle voted for Rob, Carolyn called out Danielle. Like there's just too much going on. And so they arrive and it's quiet.
Mm-hmm. They're all just looking at each other.
Mm-hmm. And Carolyn's just like, it's all out there now. So that's what it is. I guess we just gotta like move forward.
It's like when you know you did something wrong and you're just like, well, I did it. It's done.
It is what it is at this point. Boss and Rob thought they agreed to not go after each other. And Danielle's like, look, my paranoia started when you went after Bob the drag queen. And this is when they kind of have a back and forth, because he's like, he called me out. And they're like, he didn't say your name. And he's like, when you say one of 3 people, that's only 3 options. You're basically signing my death certificate. And they're like, okay, but you still like kind of like hit the paint hard with it.
Yeah, which I think is valid. He's not listening to them.
Yes. And Danielle and Carolyn kind of start to get into it, and she's like, I didn't say your name today. I said it yesterday. Yeah. And she's like, you said it today. And she's like, no, it was yesterday. And she was like, you lied about me saying Brittany's name. And she's like, I didn't lie. And she's like, yes, you did. And she's like, no, I didn't. You said her name for murder, but you said it.
And Carolyn and Rob just look at her like, are you serious?
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, what?
And Carolyn's like, am I supposed to say I said it in the turret? Then Danielle.
Like, Danielle, come on. Also, if anything is going to be sacred, it has to be the conversations in the turret. You can't use that against people in the game.
Right.
That's crazy logic. And I can't believe you just said that out loud. So they're like, whoa, shit, nothing is safe then. Fuck.
Yeah. And so Boss and Rob's like, I don't know what we even need to do at this point. And Carolyn's just like, well, we should just go after Danielle.
Which is valid. I feel like they could. I wonder if they could both just vote her out real quick. It's 2-on-1.
They low-key at this point.
I think they could.
And trying to get Boston Rob out, or get Carolyn out to get Boston Rob out, Danielle pushed them together.
Yep.
So Danielle's like, you can come after me, but I'm going to defend myself. Mm-hmm. And Carolyn's like, you have nothing on me. She's like, I have something. It's like lies.
What do you have? It. You don't have shit on me, boo.
I'm like, okay,
go ahead, Carolyn. Going toe to toe.
And Boston Rob was just like, this is a disaster.
This is a disaster. It really is. What are you going to do?
And then that's the episode ends. And next time, they didn't show much of a sneak peek. It's kind of just showing that it's going to be like this weird thing where the faithfuls will die. Like the traitors have to kill the faithful face to face.
Yeah, they're like, you have to kill them in plain sight somehow. There's like a coffin. We haven't seen this before, so I wonder how that's going to go.
Yeah, it seemed interesting. So I'm excited to see. But so I guess I'm like, is it going to be like they say someone to murder now, and then the challenge, someone else gets murdered?
I wonder. I have no idea.
Yeah, and then a banishment. I don't know, but
yeah, because sometimes Alan will interrupt them in the turret, so maybe he comes in and tells them.
Maybe. So we'll see with that. That's pretty exciting. Regardless, who do you think's next to be murdered and banished?
I really don't know because all the traitors are coming after each other. I wouldn't be surprised if Danielle gets murdered. But we haven't seen. So Brandon has a hat theory.
Oh yeah. Someone pointed on Twitter there was 2 hats Danielle wore. So we at least know she lasts long enough to wear those hats. She's worn one of the hats.
We've seen one today.
The next hat is a white one. So if she wears that next episode, potentially, because it looked like in the scene she was like defending herself at a round table. Oh. So maybe she had some heat on her. Yeah. So,
and I mean, Sierra also said Danielle, and I think Nikki probably mentioned to some people that Jeremy was saying Danielle. So it is going, and she was being really weird at the last challenge. I love how nobody remembers it.
Right. I'm hopeful that actually a traitor gets out next week at least. Yeah. Whether it's Boston Rob or Danielle, one of them.
Yeah. No, this is really awful. Yeah. I mean, look at the 3 of them. First, Rob doesn't listen to anybody but himself. He will strong arm you. He will steamroll you. I think he's used to people just listening to him and listening to his logic. And even though people do, like, you can't play games like that. Like, that's not okay. Yeah. And then Danielle takes an idea, runs with it. And Carolyn is vengeful. So this is awful.
She is.
It's really bad.
So we'll see what happens. So that's it for that episode. But before we go, I had hinted at a story I have regarding finances. And I feel like it touches on something we've talked about in a past episode. Yeah. As far as retirement plans and finances and budgeting. So it's almost tax season, y'all. Or maybe it is tax season. Or I don't know. April 20th is when taxes are due. So I've been getting notifications about different documents I'm getting. My company sent a W-2. And then one of the things was I'm getting a 1099-R from the retirement financial institution, whatever it was that I had at my previous job, because at the end of last year, I transferred or tried to roll over all the funds I had in there to my one at my new job so that it could build on that. They sent me 2 checks. One of the checks could be submitted. One of them could not. And it was because it was like, it was confusing. They were like saying it's post-tax, but then I would talk to the other company and they would say, no, we can't take it because it's pre-tax. And I'm like, but they just said it's post-tax. And they're like, oh, it's all the same thing. And I'm like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do with this? So I had gotten 2 checks. The one that had more money, I was able to roll over, which was nice. The one that had a little less, I've kind of been debating. I'm like, do I want to put it in savings? Do I want to put it in like a new fund? Like, do I want to do something like that so I can invest it and make more money? And I'd kind of forgotten about it because I got it in October and like there was like the hurricane. I moved in November. Like there was a lot going on, but I still had the checks and I always had it in the back of my mind, like thinking of what I wanted to do. And so finally, when I got the notification that I got that that I will be getting the 1099-R, I kind of thought about it and I was just like, I don't think I'll have to pay taxes on it because I haven't cashed it yet. Like I've done nothing with it. Like it's just like been with me. Like I've been deciding what I want to do with it. And then I asked my parents and they kind of bring up some things, like kind of suggesting some things. I look online. Apparently, y'all, if you don't invest a check into a new plan within 60 days of receiving it, you will be taxed on it regardless of if you cashed it or not. And I'm just like, huh? And then I was just like, okay, fine. Like, because I started to lean more towards just putting it in my savings anyway, so I would have to pay taxes on it, whatever. And so I was just like, okay, this is fine. But then I started to read more and they were like, and depending on your age, you could be subject to a penalty. I was like, penalty?
No, they give you penalties because maybe they believe you borrowed from it.
A penalty's crazy.
That is crazy.
I did nothing. A penalty.
Why did they even send you a check?
That part. And
like usually they roll it over to whatever account you want it to go to.
well, that's the thing. They could have either sent it directly to the company or sent me the check to send to them. And I was just like, I had them send it to me just so I know I got it and I can like confirm the amounts. But with that, it wouldn't have mattered because it was just like the same thing. Like it was something like it was like a post tax or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was just like, a penalty? What does a penalty mean? Are they gonna take all my money? Like, what do you mean?
No, it's just like if you take money early.
Yeah, it's like an additional, like an early withdrawal.
You technically like retired some.
Yes. And I'm like, I haven't even used any of this money and I didn't even want to. So I think what I'm going to do, because if my calculations are correct, I'm still going to have most of the check. I'll just put in the savings. I'll pay the taxes. I want to call the IRS to be sure, like, what's like the deal is, just so I know what I'm getting into before I like fill out my taxes and everything. But it was just frustrating because no one told me I had 60 days. No one in my new company, like that, when I talked to them about not being able to deposit the check and or like to put the check in my new plan, and no one told me in my previous one. They had mentioned just like, oh, you can do whatever with it, but no one told me about you only have 60 days. And I'm like, I'm not trying to keep this check for like a year or anything, but like I thought a couple months, like I would have time to like figure out what I wanted to do with it. Like I haven't done anything. So yeah, that's my dilemma right now.
That's annoying.
Very annoying, but it's fine. So this was just a small story to PSA, just to let y'all know. Stay on top of whatever checks you get.
Send it to don't get a check. Send it to the institution.
Just send it to them.
They typically know how to send stuff between each other.
And maybe even ask questions, because had I known I only had 60 days, I would have done something with it.
I think the problem is this stuff is meant to be confusing. They don't want you to roll over your retirement benefits and put them in an account that can grow and increase. They don't want you to really be doing those things.
No.
So it's like, I low-key feel like it's intentionally confusing.
No, I agree. Because like even on the check itself, like it doesn't really like say anything like you must do this or like you must do that. And like the breakdown,
they don't care if you get a penalty.
That part, the breakdown was kind of confusing. Maybe they thought you were
borrowing.
That part is like, I'm not borrowing. I wanted to put this all in my 401k so it could be in one place. I thought I was doing the right thing.
That is.
And now I'm just like kind of being screwed because no one told me.
Maybe call whoever gave it to you.
Maybe I might call that place again
and
the
say
institution.
Like, hey, y'all didn't really explain this.
Yeah.
Is this true?
Right. And I want to call.
And like, why'd you give me 2 checks instead of just 1?
That part. And I'm like, I guess because one was I could roll over because of whatever tax reason, and the one was they called it like a post tax. It was so confusing when they were saying it. I was just because they would switch between post and pre, and I'm like, what does this mean? And why is this separate? This was all in one thing.
But don't worry, like a lot of people borrow from their whatever from their benefits, and like it's not necessarily a good thing to do, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is. Like I have most of it in my new 401k, so this was just like a decent amount, but not like a crazy amount. Like, so I didn't want to put it in my savings, but now I feel like if I'm gonna pay taxes on it, might as well just keep it in my savings so it's accessible to me and like I can have it at my disposal. Like if anything like were to happen and I need it. But yeah, so that's the thing. Don't put off things that are financial, even if no one tells you that you're on a time limit. Just assume you are on a time limit.
And ask questions.
Yes, ask plenty of questions. But with that being said, I think that's it for today's episode. Thank y'all so much for listening. Oh, I did want to shout out actually really quick. We got a new review.
Ooh.
We did. And it was fun. Let me grab that really quick. Thank you so much to Jimothy Mischief, I think. On January 22nd, 2025, they said, good! ! Fun, silly.
Good.
5 stars.
Good with an exclamation point.
But they said fun, silly reviews of some of my favorite fun and silly shows. Excited to see how these two delightful pals develop over time.
Aw, thanks, Timothy.
That was nice. Thank you, Jimothy Mischief. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. And like,
what if that's Timothy Chalamet and that's like his social media name?
Honestly,
Timothy.
I wish it was.
Mischief Johnny.
Timothy, if you're listening, anything I ever said negatively about your acting, I take back.
Oh, you haven't said anything about him on the pod. You didn't even need to say that. Timothy, thanks for the review.
I prefer your sister.
And if you're secret, who's his sister?
Pauline. She's on Sex Lives of College Girls. She's really good. I like her.
I don't know Pauline.
I'm not familiar with Pauline.
But thanks,
they
Timothy.
look like the same person. But thank you. Yes.
That's unfortunate for her.
With that being said, thank y'all so much for listening. Make sure to rate and review us. Give us 5 stars like Jimothy. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Yes, we'll shout you out. Leave us a review. We will shout you out. Or make a comment on YouTube. We'll shout you out.
Do it all. And leave us 5 stars on Spotify, on YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces instead of just listening. You can subscribe to our channel at the Shade of It All Podcast. We're still posting clips on TikTok at the Shade of It All Podcast.
And people are talking. Like, we're having discussions with people.
Having some comments and dialogue.
On the videos.
Do it. And then we're also posting them on Instagram at the Shade of It All Pod. So in the meantime, we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.